Welcome back to the Crackin' Cans podcast, where we talk all things cryptid, all things urban legend, and all things spooky. I'm Corey with an E, here sitting with Mike.
With a C, M-I-C.
Who is presenting today's topic.
Yeah, presenting today's topic. A little bit spooky. Before we dive into the episode, Corey, I want to give everybody a reminder that they need to go follow us on socials.
Yeah.
We got to bump those numbers up big time.
Bump them.
Bump them.
Bump it up.
Bump it up. Mostly threads.
And send us some emails. We want to hear from you guys and gals.
It's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Corey, I'm diving into the bunny. So this is like one part Bunnyman Bridge and the other part just Bunnyman. We kind of got like two different stories working here today, but yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit. I think it's going to be a fun urban legend topic.
I think it's the same creature that was in Van Meter.
I was kind of waiting for it. Yeah, it's got to be.
That's
the only logical explanation because there's just rabbits running around just all over the U.S.
Bunnies,
yes, bunnies. And this is also a good topic because we got Easter coming up this Sunday. Makes it a perfect time to just hop on the old bunny train.
Bunny trail.
Like Peter Cottontail. He hops on down the bunny trail.
You know who else hops down the bunny trail? This guy when he's going to get some beer. So what beer do we got today?
The Brewskis. Yeah, the Brewskis. We're going to Evergreen Brewing again. I think we did we do one from them or no?
Yeah. We did the wolf one. I did the wolf one.
Fairchild.
Yeah.
Augustine.
Loki's wolf.
Yeah. So we're back at Evergreen Brewing out of Camp Hill. This brewery's better known for wanting to use as many Pennsylvania ingredients as they can, which is awesome because we're locally in Pennsylvania. So it makes it kind of cool. It's a cool brew for us. Wanting to use all the ingredients gave them the idea that they should just farm their own stuff. So that's what they started doing. And it's a fun and different thing that they do, I would say, compared to most breweries out there. And growing their own stuff, farming it, kind of being like a true organic brewery. And today we have Wild Rabbit, a fresh and vibrant IPA brewed with loads of crush hops and a few other supporting cast members for massive mango character. Notes of mango sorbet, mango gummies, mango juice, mango, and a little bit more mango. Did they mention that this is mango-y?
Is there mango in this?
I think. That's what I heard.
This here is a 7.2%er, so that's going to bring up our numbers because some of the last episodes we've been down pretty low.
Good beer, lower alcohol percentage.
Yeah,
we're back. We're kicking it back up a notch though. It's time.
Sure is.
There's two main reasons, Corey, that I picked this beer. I'm sure one of them is going to be kind of obvious. First one being the name. Comparing the Bunnyman to a wild rabbit is fun. But although the rabbit is not very aggressive, like the Bunnyman is, this beer is aggressive with its hard-hitting mango flavor.
Ooh.
Also, this is going to disappear from your glass, much like you'll disappear when you come face-to-face with this big, hopping son of a bitch.
Ooh.
Let's go ahead, sling your bullshit at me, Corey.
So if you look at this can...
this is the worst.
So I'm thinking of this bunny man, right, who kills people, I'm assuming.
I'll put a timestamp if you want to get over this part of Corey just stealing my thunder right now.
There's a skeleton on there that looks like it's maybe, it's all the skin and everything's been ripped off of it because this bunny man killed him. It looks like there's just some random heads of women on here, so this bunny man chopped off some heads and threw them into nature.
Threw them into nature? And that's what he does. He just throws heads into nature. So you're right. Freaking Corey nailed it again, you son of a bitch. Now, I haven't taken a single sip of this. I'm going to take you guys a little behind the scenes. I usually drink some of the beer before we start.
Me too.
Yeah, Corey's halfway through right now. I'm not giving this to him. The only time I can not get Corey to drink is if I bring a sour.
It's true.
But I haven't taken a sip. I'm dying to try it. So let's cheers. Just cheers me lightly. It's full. There we go. It's a good beer. You like it?
I like it. And I know like we didn't know what to expect because of the mango and how it really amped it up with there being a strong mango taste in this beer. But I honestly don't think the mango flavor is too overpowering. and it really blends in well with the rest of the beer. And you kind of get some of that like tanginess.
Yeah, it finishes. I feel like it really finishes with the mango. But not in like it's not like I feel like I'm eating a mango. It just has that nice hint of mango at the end.
And it's not like a mango's like finishing in your mouth.
No. What? No.
Yeah.
What? Why would you word it like that? What the? Good God. Anywho, what do you think, Corey? You like it?
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Evergreen's cool. That's why we got a sign, because it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, we're still working on that sponsorship.
Yeah, we are. New Trail, Evergreen, Drecker, Krogs. I mean, Budweiser. It really doesn't matter at this point. Just throw us some beer and we'll do whatever you need us to do. So bang, Corey, you ready?
Yeah, and with that,
there you go. I was hoping you would hit it. I was getting ready to hit it. It's like, no. I'm gonna let Corey with an E throw us over.
And with that, we're moving on from the beer, and we're getting into the bunny wabbit.
The wabbit.
The killer bunny wabbit.
So sources, I have 3 main sources for this episode. castleofspirits.com, Washingtonian. So, because this is like outside of Washington, D.C., so Washingtonian.com. And the best, and dude, it's a really good read. If you are interested at all into the Bunnyman, there's a guy by the name of Brian A. Conley. I think he's a librarian, but he dove into like all the newspaper articles from like the beginning of the 1900s all the way through to find any source material that would actually like back up these Bunnyman stories, all the way down to the places, the names. Like he researched all this stuff, and you can find his paper on its research.fairfaxcounty.gov, and the article is titled "The Real Life Origins of an Urban Legend."
And I just picture this dude's house just having like newspaper clippings just all over the walls.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's like Charlie on Always Sunny. Like that's just how he talks all the time. Just conspiracy theories. This is going to happen. But it was a really fun read, and you can tell this dude spent a lot of time with it. So I really want to give him a lot of credit when I go through this episode.
Let's get him on.
I should have reached out to him. It's not too late. I don't know. I should check in to see if he has any other like articles and stuff like that.
Maybe he has like some secret ones that he didn't share with anybody that we can get him to talk about on the cast.
Ooh. Hey, low key. Speaking of getting guests on the cast, how would you feel if I got an author on the cast?
Get him on.
Okay.
Her, him.
Yeah, it's a guy. Just reached out to one of the Facebook groups that we follow and said he was writing an urban legend book that was in the process of being published. And if anybody's interested in reading the first couple of chapters, he would just send it to him. So I reached out to him. So I got the first 3 chapters of the book. I'm going to read that. If the first 3 chapters stink, I'll just cut this part out of the episode. But I haven't read them yet. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool to like reach out to urban legend type groups and just be like, hey, if anybody wants this for free, you can have the first 3 chapters. Thought that was a pretty good, maybe marketing idea and stuff like that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So if you guys like guests, or if you think you can come on our cast and you can present just a kick-ass topic, shoot us an email.
And if you got some leftover beer in your fridge that you don't want to drink, or you don't like it, or you're an alcoholic and you're trying to not be an alcoholic, dump
it out. You don't have to send it to it. Corey's wants you to send it to us. Just dump it out, because this is probably hard for you. You might not even want to listen to us talk about beer.
Yeah, that's right.
Skip the beer part and just get into the episode part. Or send it to us. It's totally fine, too. We'll give you Corey's address. And with that,
let's hear about this thing.
After the sources. So this is...
Oh, yeah. Still talk about sources.
No, that's the end of my sources. Oh. So this story's going to be a little bit different than some of the previous ones that we talked about. See, the folklore of the Bunnyman can't just be narrowed down to one story. There are 2 different ones that span close to 70 years apart. Same county, kind of same general area. So I thought it would be fun to get into each of them, compare them, and then we can figure out which bunny reigns supreme.
From each, like, between the 2 stories?
Between the 2 stories, yeah. Because they're definitely different wabbits.
Okay.
So the first story is one, and I think this is the more commonly known in the area. If you're into urban legends, this is the Bunnyman of Bunnyman Bridge. See, back in Virginia in the early 1900s, between the town of Clifton and Fairfax Station, tucked in the woods, was a small, nice little quaint insane asylum.
Do we have a name on this said insane asylum?
There was. I'll get into that later and stuff.
Okay.
I think it was just the Fairfax Station insane asylum. So when you read about this insane asylum, it gave me Penhurst vibes big time, which I think all asylums back then. I really think a lot of them were very similar. Stories say that it was ultra violent and was eventually closed in the early 1900s. So Corey, how bad does a place have to be in the early 1900s for it to actually close down? Like Penhurst, they had videos, and that place stayed open till like the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know, because Penhurst, we know how bad Penhurst was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much more worse you could get.
But apparently it must have been if they actually shut this thing down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's scary.
it is. They'd have people like, I don't know, running out on the interstate and stuff or something, like escaping and running out.
Yeah,
like,
but this was also like out in the middle of like just like how Penhurst was just
Yeah,
out in the
all
middle
that
of nowhere.
land,
That's
yeah.
how this place supposedly was. So the story says that when this asylum was closed, it left many of the inmates to be transferred elsewhere. This would lead them to be loaded on a bus and taken on a relatively short trip to Ludson Prison, a county away. As the bus went down the road, though, it suddenly lost control and wrecked. The details of what happened and how it wrecked are unclear. Some say it was just an accident, while others believe that there was a riot on the bus, causing it to veer off the road. The local sheriff was able to corral everyone back that had escaped the bus, all but 2 men. The area was searched and searched, but really no clues turned up to where these 2 men were. Now, the name of the guys were never actually known. There's a couple articles online that give names for these guys, and the guy that I talked to, Brian Conley, earlier, discredited the names and was able to go through research, death certificates, that nobody of that name was ever in this area, more or less.
So they don't know like the.
They don't
identities.
actually know the identities of these people. But eventually one of the men was found, not far from the woods near where we know today as Bunnyman Bridge.
That reminds me of some like Michael Myers type shit.
Yeah, for sure. That's like that's definitely the vibes you're getting
Yeah.
from this. I'm pretty sure in one of those movies man, what movie was it? Wasn't there a movie where a bus wrecked and one of the killers escaped? I'm sure it is over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know like Myers, there's like ambulances
The
that are wrecked and
ambulance,
stuff
yeah.
like that, and he's escaped.
He puts
So
his thumb through somebody's like forehead.
Yeah. Haven't we all wanted to do that once in a while?
Yeah.
Pretend that dude's big face is just a bowling ball
Made of cheese.
made of cheese. Oh, barf. The man was face down. This is one of the guys, was face down with his skull bashed in. And there, beside him, lay a hatchet, dripping in blood. Many questions arose from this. Were these men camping out together when they had a disagreement? Or did someone else or something else entirely kill them while the other man was able to escape? They never really knew because they're never able to catch up. There are different variations where they say that the man had gone. Now, this is the man that survived. You know, obviously we don't have a name, so there's speculation as to why he was in the asylum to begin with. Most speculate that he'd gone insane after the death of his wife and daughter, but there's others that just believed he's just been crazed his whole life. Either way, he was never located, and they eventually stopped looking for him. Out there at the Colchester Overpass, an old train overpass near where the bus had crashed. And it's believed to this day that the Bunnyman has haunted this bridge and the surrounding areas. Now we'll get more into that because there is more about this bridge and some things that happened there.
Did they ever find like a bus or anything like that? Do you know?
We'll get into some of that later.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good question. And if there was a bus crash, I assure you our friend Brian would have found it.
All right. I'll wait to hear from Brian.
Yeah, from Bry Guy. So that's me and him. I call him Bry Guy because me and him, we be getting pretty tight and stuff, you know. So why is this guy called the Bunnyman, though? There's not really any reason as far as this escaped convict. He started becoming known around the community as the Bunnyman. So after everything settled down, people would see strange things in the woods near the bridge. Things like half-eaten rabbits strung up in the trees all about. But not like you would expect an animal to leave them. No, this was more like a human hanging them from trees and leaving them in places so that people would see them. Another reason is after eating these rabbits and bunnies, the bunny man, on the few times that he is supposedly seen, could be seen wearing the skin of all these rabbits as fur for clothing.
And if he was actually eating these rabbits, I guarantee you he wasn't cooking them. He was eating them son of a bitches while they were alive.
Sushi. What do you call raw rabbit? Gross.
Rushi?
Rushi. I call it gross. But
Yeah.
So it would make sense as rabbits in this area were kind of plentiful and might be the easiest thing to catch compared to, I don't know, like deer and stuff like that. We're going to continue back into the Bunnyman Bridge here. So back to the bridge, now referred to as Bunnyman Bridge, and pretty much to this day, that bridge is referred to as Bunnyman Bridge. And now I'll describe this bridge a little bit. It's a really narrow bridge, road going underneath, and up top, it's all overgrown now, but there was old train tracks that used to go over top.
So you can still drive under the bridge to this day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I bet you this place is just, because places like this, there's always like graffiti and stuff, people hanging out.
Dude,
I
I looked up some pictures online. It was pretty clean.
Was it?
Yeah.
Bunnyman killed them son of a bitches before they could start with their spray paint. Probably.
More or less. Yeah, I mean, this is a picture of the bridge. It's just pretty simple bridge. There's not much to it. You got a yoke, because it's only a 1-lane bridge underneath and stuff. This is the old train tracks running over.
Damn.
I don't know. I believe the train tracks are still in service, but I'm not totally sure. But anyways, at this bridge is where the urban legend really takes form, and even more so from the story we heard earlier. So years after the supposed bus accident, after everything settled down, the town really never stopped whispering about whatever happened to the last patient. People knew the lore of the bunnies and trees and claimed he had been seen around the bridge. Really, at this point, nothing more than a ghost tale passed along from generation to generation. One Halloween, a group of friends decided that it would be fun to go over to the bridge and hang out. Kids always want to one-up each other. I'm sure, like, you went to, like, spooky places when you were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's, like, the cool thing to do. Flex your muscle, like, I ain't scared of nothing. Why is that such a thing? I don't understand.
Just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just hormones.
Hormones.
When you're a teenager.
Yeah.
In high school, you just think you're the shit. You think you're invisible.
Well, listen, I'm still sitting with that son of a bitch Skippy. I ain't scared of him at Penhurst.
I thought you were going to say, I'm still the shit, man.
Yeah, I still am. King Gooba, I think. But yeah, the kids would go there, so he was the bravest and toughest. These guys wouldn't be scared by a story as silly as the Bunnyman, because he couldn't possibly be real. And as the night grew longer, they started to realize that this story was just made up. They weren't hearing anything really besides the leaves moving above them when the wind would blow. As they got ready to pack it in, one said that they really need to at least stay till midnight. That's when everything goes down, midnight. And as Halloween night counted down and November 1st quickly approached, they did hear a noise, getting closer and closer. It was like someone was walking on the old train tracks above the bridge. And as the clock struck midnight, so did the Bunnyman. Armed with his hatchet, he jumped in front of the boys, and they screamed and tried to run, but as they screamed, their screams were muffled by the gargle of blood.
You see him whipping that hatchet as they're trying to run. Just
freaking right. Did you ever see the movie Hatchet?
Oh, I feel like I have. I just can't picture it in my head.
Yeah, so it's like this deformed down in the bayou. He's like all deformed. But there's a really cool scene. I think it might be in Hatchet number 3, right? So the guy that plays Hatchet is like, he played Jason in some of the later Jason movies.
Okay.
There's a scene in that where he kills the guy that played Jason in the Jason remake. They like made this kind of like thing of it, which I thought was like, it's really funny, especially because Hatchet was one of those movies that was really made for a mainstream horror fan.
Yeah.
And stuff like, or not a mainstream horror fan, but like a real like hardcore horror person. So for somebody like that, they would realize right away, oh my gosh, Jason just killed Jason.
That's funny.
He is the superior Jason being. Yeah, that's what I think when I keep hearing the Hatchet references. I think of that movie. That movie is just redonkulous.
For whatever reason, too, I keep thinking of like See No Evil with Kane.
Yeah.
You ever see those movies?
Yeah, he's got like the hooks in that.
The hooks and stuff, yeah. Like throwing those hooks across and just snatching people and stuff like that. I like those movies.
They were good. I liked them. But the next morning, these boys were found.
Oh, they were hanging in a tree.
Guts ripped out, hanging from the trees above the bridge, with their feet hanging just low enough that they could be seen by the passerbyers going through the bridge. So every car on their commute to work will be forced to see it in the morning. The same trees that for years locals have been seeing rabbits hanging from.
Dude, that's savage.
That is savage. Like, you talk about like a power play, because he hangs them there.
It's like he's hanging his clothes out to dry.
And it's like he's telling the cops, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Come on, bring it.
Yeah.
I got rabbit strength. I wonder if like they're like
Rabbit
I got rabbit strength.
Yeah.
That's all I eat. But the story doesn't end here, Corey. No.
It's just beginning.
No, like most urban legends, it was a story that the teens of the town couldn't get enough of. A murder in their tiny little town on Halloween night, the most haunted night of the year. To these kids, they spent the next years being curious what really happened to the boys at Bunnyman Bridge. Was it really true that there was a man there waiting for people? Was it just a random crime? So the next year, a group of teens tried their luck. 8 in total.
Oh, I thought you were saying like they got eaten.
They got 8.
Like
yeah.
all of them got eaten.
They got 8 in.
Eaten.
Yeah, 8 in big time. That's why.
Just like eaten. Like.
That's why 6 is afraid of 7. Because 7, 8, and 9. No. 8 in total went out there. 7 stayed under the bridge. But there was one really smart girl that decided, I'm going to stand a little bit away from the bridge. Now, this is just in case that there's maybe some legitimacy to these stories. So she stayed out there.
She just watches this whole group just got massacred.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Oh, shit.
So she just thought if she stayed on the outside, she would have time to run. So seconds away from midnight, here came a light. Now, we have a witness on the second story, so she could see a light coming down the railroad track. But it wasn't the light of a train. No, this light was being carried by someone. But the girl on the outside couldn't see who or what was carrying it. So on the strike of midnight, screams were heard from under the bridge, screams of pain and death. And the girl turned, and she just ran as fast as she could run all the way home. Just trying to run away from the screams that she heard under this bridge of all her friends just being mutilated by this bunny man. They found all those teens dead, strung up like the previous. The cops had absolutely no leads. They couldn't make an arrest. How do you arrest an urban legend? But they did have someone that they could arrest. Someone that was the only witness
The girl that ran.
to these crimes. The girl who heard the screams. She was convicted and sent to an asylum. The police had to make some kind of arrest. This was getting out of hand. She was the scapegoat, and in that, she allowed the bunny man to live forever. Now, there's speculation that while she was at the asylum, after a stay of like 10 to 12 years, she was released. But when she went to be released, she actually couldn't be because she was so messed up from staying in these asylums. And she eventually took her own life. So in a way, it's like the bunny man took one more from away from the bridge.
Damn.
So this is an awesome urban legend. I feel like it brings all the normal things to the table that an urban legend needs. You have kids mess with something that they know they shouldn't. You have the scene of an accident to make the perfect lore for the story. And you have total fear at the end of it. So it's pretty cut and dry. Kind of covers all your bases as far as an urban legend goes. So what do you think of that version of the story?
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like it's not anything that's like, it's something that you could imagine, like, of actually happening. You know what I mean? It's nothing that's like too far-fetched.
It's not too far-fetched, and it's also just over the top enough that like people will talk about it.
Yeah. And
kids will really be curious. Like, I don't know. You know how kids are, man. They always got to be messing with stuff. Yeah. You know how kids be. Like, I know how my kids be. They be shitting their diapers.
Playing with their wieners. My son tonight.
If he's playing with his wiener, I think we should talk about that.
Never mind. I'm not going to say it.
I mean, you can if you want to.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
He basically did something and said he was a girl.
All right.
He's like, look, Daddy, I'm a girl.
We call that being Buffalo Bill, I believe. So, Corey, we're going to get into story number 2 of the Bunnyman Now, this one's a little bit different because this one was actually found in newspaper articles and stuff like that. Like,
So is it like the
an
same
abundance of it.
same like time frame?
This took place just under 70 years after the Bunnyman Bridge stuff happened, but it took place in the same county.
Okay.
Now, this didn't take place at the bridge. Took place, I don't know, like 15 minutes from the bridge. It's not far at all.
Different bridge.
No bridge.
Oh. I was hoping there. I was hoping there. Look at
your face.
I really wanted there to be. Can we just? All right, I'm gonna pretend there's a bridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I'll just randomly add a bridge to this story.
Okay, just for me.
So now there's another story. The difference with these stories is there's actually some facts to it. The previous story was really just word of mouth passed down. This one has police reports and everything.
Ooh.
And it doesn't take place at a bridge. It takes place at a neighboring town. By a bridge. I'll just add that for Corey.
Yeah, there's definitely bridges in the town.
Yeah,
Come
for
on.
sure. There's
Yeah.
got to be some kind of water.
That works.
And this info is all thanks to Brian A. Conley. Brian A. Conley that I talked about earlier. Because that dude, I'm telling you, that dude did some work in this article. So the first incident takes place in 1970. So this is long after the supposed wreck and escaped bunny.
Because that was when in the early 1900s.
Yeah, it was like 1906, I think, is when the bus wrecked, somewhere
Now
in
we're
there.
in the 70s.
We're in the 70s.
Hmm.
A United States Air Force cadet and his fiancée were traveling through Virginia when they stopped at his uncle's house to catch up. Parking on the opposite side of the road, right near a field, they went inside and visited. Caught up with his uncle, shared laughs, just had a lot of fun. Things you would normally do when you're catching up with a family member you don't get to see that much. So as they got into their car to leave, they sat there, letting the motor idle for a little bit. And we're in the 70s, car's a little bit older. You're not just hopping in and pressing our button and going. Or you fancy kids in your electric cars just hitting the gas like it's just some kind of fancy golf cart.
You actually had to roll up them windows.
Yeah.
My first car, you had to roll up the windows.
My work truck, I got to roll up my windows.
That sucks when you have to roll up the passenger window when you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard as hell.
Yeah, imagine a CDL truck. It really sucks.
Yeah.
Just trying not to die.
At least there's nothing in your way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's going to get in your way.
No. As they sat there letting the motor idle and warm up, they could see something moving outside the car. So the next thing they knew, the back window of the car was shattered, sending glass and debris all over the car. The woman lets out a blood-curdling scream, and the man looks back to see what causes this. And as he looks, all he can see is a face, just white as white, with what looked like ears hanging down on each side of him.
Damn.
Saying, "You're on private property and I have your tag number." At this, the man just punched the gas and just got out of there as fast as he could.
Holy shit.
And they sped straight to the police station. They looked down on their floor as they were on their way there. And guess what sat there? A hatchet.
I was going to say, my first guess was a hatchet, too.
Nice.
The window.
That's what I would say,
Crashed.
too. I beat you
Just
to
because
it.
of the first story.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just busting you. So there sat a hatchet that was thrown at the window with such force it shattered the back glass. When they arrived at the police station, they gave their report. They both described what they had seen. The man said that it was all white with what looked like bunny ears, but the woman, on the other hand, had a much different description of what she saw. What do you think she described?
A Teletubby? Well, I guess they weren't out yet.
Yes.
Hold on.
Oh, no, you nailed it. A Teletubby.
What she described.
Yeah.
So he's saying bunny. She's just saying,
Oh,
like...
just think of all white.
I was going to say something simple, like just like a giant black shadow figure.
A giant black shadow figure. So she actually thought she saw a member of the KKK. With the white hood sticking up, which would make sense when he saw all white. And at this time, there's actually a big KKK like revival going on at this time in this area of Virginia. There's signs along the road for like recruiting and stuff like that.
Damn.
It was becoming a really big thing. So that's kind of
Yeah.
it made a lot of, without that kind of stuff, a KKK member just I mean, it's freaking random. It's just some random guy just smashed out your back window dressed up like he's in the KKK.
I mean, I guess that makes more sense than a giant bunny man.
It does. I mean, really, yeah, it totally does.
Like if you went to the police station and like You heard both of these. Like, which one are you gonna lean towards?
Yeah, probably just the racist.
Yeah.
More or less. But the man insisted and swore up and down that he saw a giant bunny man. And now I think there's also something to it because we're in the same county where Bunnyman Bridge is located. So if you're really scared, we talked about it in other episodes, when you're really scared, you kind of just go right back to what you know. And your
Yeah.
brain's going to see what you think you know.
And this is what 70 years later. So like
70 years later. And
they
but
heard
this,
the stories.
yeah, this has been passed down from
Yeah.
generation to generation. But not 10 days after this incident, there was another minor incident. A construction security guard named Paul Phillips was doing his rounds at a site when he saw a man standing on a porch nearby. As he approached the man, he could see that this guy was wearing a gray and white bunny costume.
Call them furries.
Yeah. But back in this day, like you'd still catch an uppercut if you dress like a furry. Like now, I feel like it's cooler now, I guess.
Yeah.
But back then, man, you'd catch you an uppercut from
Ha-cha.
from old Paul Phillips. He ain't scared.
Yeah. Old PP.
But he saw the gray and white bunny costume, which, as you think about it, how creepy. Like, it'd be creepy as hell to just see some full-grown man in a bunny costume.
In the middle of the night. Was this nighttime?
This was like, I don't know if it was nighttime. I think
Yeah.
it was daylight, though, when he saw
I mean, I
it.
guess regardless, if you see that,
It's
it's
just,
like
it's freaking weird.
because it's not normal. It's like,
No.
what the fuck? What is that?
And it's not even not normal. It's like totally weird.
Yeah.
You know? But also, this guy living in this area, he's heard of the legend before. This is not something that's new to these people, hearing of a legend of a bunny man. So as he approached the man, he could see that he was wearing the bunny costume. So when he walked up to the man in the bunny suit, the bunny man picked up an axe. Now, granted, he's standing on this porch, and I don't totally understand the concept of the story if this house was located on the property that was having construction done.
Yeah.
Or if it was like a big area, just got all bought up, and this was just a house that they haven't got to tearing down yet. I don't understand that aspect of it. So he started swinging as hard as he could at his porch pillar, taking big chunks out of it
What
with
a
every
fucking
swing.
idiot.
Yeah, I don't understand this. And then Phillips claimed that the bunny man looked at him and said, "If you don't get out of here, I'm going to bust your head." So Phillips is like just in total shock and surprised and alarmed. So he headed back as fast as he could to his car to grab his gun, which he didn't have. I feel like if I'm approaching just some random wacko in a bunny suit, I'm probably going to be packing. If I have it sitting right there in my car with me, I'm probably just going to grab it.
Or was he already out though? And then
I don't know. It was
yeah.
close to, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was like he got out of his car and was walking and then saw this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would hope so. I would
But
really
regardless,
hope.
if I'm out in East Bumfuck working
Yeah.
and I have my gun in my truck, it's going to be in my pocket.
Yeah, I would think so. So he headed back, grabbed his gun, and before he could turn around, the bunny man fled into the woods. Phillips described him as a 20-somethings, but I don't know how he knew like the age.
Yeah. How quick he ran.
Yeah, it could be about 5'8".
He used to coach track in college.
That was probably what it was. I reckon that bull was about 20s, about 5'8", 160 pounds. He ran about a 4.5 40.
Yeah.
That boy could scoot. So those were the two sightings that all happened, and they happened within 10 days of each other in the same town.
Same area, yeah.
So to compare the stories from the 1900s to the 70s, the 1900s took place primarily at the bridge. While this one, I would say the Bunnyman Bridge has more the feel of an urban legend.
Yeah.
Has the escaped mental patient. It brings that eerie and unnerving vibe to the table. And then, of course, the murders, typical urban legend, wanting to fear kids, not totally sure what they were fearing the kids of. Because that's always, like, when I look at urban legends, and I remember when we talked about the otter episode, I can't remember what the name of that thing was.
Duwaku.
When we talked about the Duwaku, my biggest struggle with what I didn't understand is, like, what was the point in this cryptid?
Yeah.
Because most cryptids, they seem to have some kind of point.
The only thing I think we might talk about a little is like just being like a protector of like the land.
Yes,
or
yeah,
something
we
like
did,
that.
yeah. Which makes total sense if there was some kind of like expansion going that people were moving to this area that this otter was just feeling uncomfortable. But that's what I think every urban legend needs that. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. Like the Hookman has premarital sex, and just teenage sex and stuff like that is kind of the basis of the Hookman. I'm not totally sure what the fear that was supposed to be in kids in this episode was. I don't know if like this was typically like the bridge, was it like a drinking and partying spot? That could have been like this woods around here, so it was just a way for the parents to be like, yeah, you better stay away from there. Or the dang old Bunnyman's going to just unzip your pants and do a little doodling.
Play with your dingleberries.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, you better watch my dingleberries.
Yeah, we'll be flicking them dingleberries.
That's right. Why would he flick them?
Into his mouth.
We flicking them. I don't know. I don't even know what to do with that, but I love it.
I don't know.
But yeah, so that was one of the only things I could kind of come up with, is this might have been like a partying spot for kids or something like that. Or we're in the early 1900s. Maybe this was like a way to make kids not stay out late.
That's
so
what
they
I
would
was thinking.
work and stuff like that, Also like how in the story the Bunnyman shows up at midnight on Halloween, because it adds to the paranormal aspect of it. And the way he was just like carrying the light down the track, it makes him seem as like a spirit, like this is his time to shine,
I picture that too, like just like the slow footsteps, just
yeah,
as he's just slowly walking. Like I just picture, adding that mystique to the story.
And then just right at the strike of midnight, he gets the taste that he's always longed for, the taste of blood fulfilled.
Ooh.
This one I would say makes a really good story, but there's really nothing factual about it besides the bridge. So in a way, it reminds me a lot of the Hookman urban legend.
Yeah.
So do you know what the huge problem in this version of the story was?
What, with the bridge?
With the bus crash, the bridge, all that with this.
The huge problem?
Yeah, there's one like big problem with this, and you probably won't know because the way I read the story to you, but our friend did some research.
The way they transported prisoners back then wasn't like that or some shit? I don't know.
Yeah, it made him walk. No, so the fact was there was never an asylum located in Fairfax County, which is where the bus wrecked, which also there's never any bus wreck on this road that could be recorded in any of the newspapers. And if there was an asylum, it would be totally irrelevant because the story took place in 1906, and these prisoners were being transported to Lorton Prison, which didn't happen to open until 5 years later. So that's where it's a bummer because it's such a badass story.
Yeah.
But who knows? There could be something with it that was just never actually recorded.
Lapse of time.
Yeah. We could just hope. I don't know, because it is a badass story, the asylum bus wrecks and all that stuff.
Yeah. That makes me want to eat my popcorn. Just hearing about like the asylum bus for
caught me off guard.
Just like
yeah.
just like hearing the bus wreck. I'm just like wanting to
for sure. I know what you're trying to go for.
As I'm listening to that shit, it's just feeding me more.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Like that would make a good movie.
Yeah.
We were even talking about it a little bit. How it just seems like it was very movie. That had to be used in a movie.
Hell yeah.
Somewhere along the line.
Oh yeah.
So we go to dude. It bothers me because I know it was used in a movie.
I know
somewhere.
I saw it too in a movie.
Was it in like? Ah man, this bothers me. I really feel like it was in one of the Halloween.
I feel like it was too.
I just remember all like the crazies just walking around the road.
I know. Yeah, I remember.
And it had to. So it was one of the Halloween movies. I just don't know which one.
It was. There's so many, so
there is.
Just take your pick.
Drive me totally bonkers, though.
Wasn't Halloween Ends? Oh, sorry. I mean, go. Just move on.
Did you see that? Well, you sent it to me. That the guy that plays Michael Myers, and it looked like the guy that played Michael Myers, was it in those Halloween movies, or was it in the Rob Zombie Halloween movies? Is going to be at the Pennhurst Paracon.
I think it was the Rob Zombie ones.
That's what that's what it looked like in the pictures.
Tyler Mane.
Yeah.
I forget what else he's in. He's in the X-Men movies. He plays Sabretooth.
Oh, okay.
In like the first X-Men like movie, he's Sabretooth, and then he came back in like the Deadpool movie, I think.
What's Sabretooth's power?
He's just a ferocious beast.
Oh, okay.
He's similar to Wolverine, but he doesn't have. Well, it depends which depiction we're talking about.
Can he regenerate like Wolverine?
I think he can regenerate.
Okay.
I don't think it's as badass as Wolverine.
So he's just like a poor man's Wolverine, more or less. So, I mean, freaking Sabretooth's a pretty badass name.
It is a badass name.
Yeah.
I mean, Wolverine's my favorite. He's my goat.
That's cool.
So
that's cool.
I'll fight anybody.
That's cool. You might have to fight my son. He's been on a big Spider-Man kick, which I know you can appreciate.
I like Spider-Man.
He is always Spider-Man and always a dinosaur. So just wrap your head around that one. I don't know.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, you get them both all the time. You get them both all the time. So back to the story. So we're going to dive into the 1970s story, which, like I said earlier, was actually printed in papers, and really it is what it is. It's what the article says, what the police report said. With the couple, there's actually
for the second story.
In the 1970s. Yep, that was the whole second story part. With the couple, there's actually a big belief that the man wasn't wearing a bunny suit, but he was a member of the KKK, possibly wearing all white with the hood.
What if they were just on LSD?
I mean, that could be. And I also thought, like, when you throw, like, the tail lights and, like, the exhaust, I don't know, there's a lot of, like, stuff going on back there.
Especially, like, 60s, 70s. Like, that's a big time, like, LSD.
Yeah, I don't know.
Marijuana.
They were coming back from a football game. Like, I don't know if it was a big college football game or something like that, so they could have been drinking all day. Could have been a lot of things to it. And when I also read this, like, yeah, the dude busted out their back window with a hatchet. Like, that was kind of shitty. But they did park on the opposite side of the road from where his uncle lived. So they probably did park on somebody else's dirt.
Yeah, and you know how people get when you get some tire tracks in their lawn?
Well, yeah, and I also
especially if he was retired.
I also think if this was like this guy really wasn't a member of the KKK, they were having if he's wearing everything, they were having some kind of meeting right there.
Yeah.
So just some like weirdo pulling in next to your meeting and just like parking his car, and then they came out of the house and they were sitting in the car for a minute. Like I don't know if they could have been making out or something, but it's like you're in a meeting and it's kind of a high intensity situation, you know. Who knows if it's the cops? Who knows if it's some kind of the Black Panthers or what that are going to come get you? Dude just went through a hatchet through their window. I don't know. I mean, he was definitely not in the right either way, but
unless he had signs that like warned him.
Yeah.
Hatchet throwing area.
It could be.
Oh.
This property's protected by hatchets. Yeah. Like those gun, like they always have the gun ones.
Yeah. Beware of hatchet, like a beware of dog.
Yeah. But I lean more towards that story when I read everything, that this guy probably might have been a member of the KKK. Probably was.
Yeah.
And that was what he was wearing, and that's what it was seen.
That's where my mind goes too, rather than a bunny costume.
And the second story, with the security guard and everything, or the second part of the second story, I think that was more than likely just because a kid heard this initial report, a bunch of kids just making a joke. When I hear like 20-somethings, like even like could be like 18, 19, you know, kind of stupid crap we were doing at 18 and 19, you know? Mm-hmm. Like I could definitely see like, let's go punk this guy. I got a bunny costume in my garage. Let's go, you know?
Put it on.
So I think at the end of the day, we know the story from the 70s were true. Whether he was wearing a bunny costume or not, no one will really know. But the story being reported in the news, kids hearing their parents talking about it, it doesn't take long for this little seemingly irrelevant story to be blown into a full-blown urban legend. Could you imagine you're sitting in your living room or you're at your grandma and pap's house and they're watching the news?
Which they always are.
Yeah. So you're like 11 and 12 or at that time, and they're watching the news and it comes over that a guy in a bunny costume with an axe had basically like attacked a security guard because the news is going to blow it up to what it's not, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So when you hear that, your brain's instantly going to go to like, oh shit, this thing is fucking nasty, and I got to get away from it. So it's just that, and I feel like that's how urban legends are born. You know,
I feel like too, a lot of urban legends are either like, I know we talked about this before with like different time periods. It's like early 1900s or like 1960s, 70s.
It seems like that, yeah.
It's like one of the
That's
two.
because everything between there, they were just all fighting in wars,
yeah,
like forever.
Yeah.
There's just nothing but wars going on for the longest time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true, because that's how like the Hookman was pretty much. What I have when it kind of went through the similarities and stuff, which is a good throw over to this next part of the Hookman, just because I really think the Hookman was similar to this urban legend, because I think the
Yeah.
Hookman is it's like the top dog of urban legends.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows the stories of the Hookman and things like that. This one, the Bunnyman, I found very similar to the Hookman, but just in a much smaller area. The small, just one county in Virginia.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But so these are the similarities I did. Both stories are rooted in fear. The 1970s Bunnyman throwing the hatchet was very similar to the fear the Hookman would leave people in on Lover's Lane. The hook either stuck in their handle of their car or scraped up the side. I found that very similar. The fact they both revolved around an escaped lunatic out of the asylum.
Which, I mean, just hearing that alone just gives you that sense of, like, fear of, like, where's this person at? What's going on? Like,
Yeah, because it's one thing if it's an escaped prisoner. It's another thing somebody that escapes out of an asylum because they're mentally unstable. Makes it scarier because you don't know what's even going on in their brain.
Yeah.
With Bunnyman Bridge, this brings it into a secluded area, much like the Hookman stalking couples on Lover's Lane.
I think, too, like, that gives it, like, a location.
Yeah.
Like, that puts it on the map. Like, this spot right here is where the Bunnyman comes to kill.
And I think this really epitomizes the difference in these stories. Like, Hookman, like, Lover's Lane is represented in every town.
Everywhere, yeah.
Where people go to make out or teenagers go to park or whatever. Bunnyman Bridge is Bunnyman Bridge. It is this one location.
Yeah.
Which I think in a way makes it cooler because it kind of it takes away from the Hookman legend the fact that he's everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You know what I mean?
This is like one specific spot.
Yes, you know where to go to see this legend. And think how many train overpasses you drive through and stuff like that. Why? There has to be some story as to why this place became so synonymous with the Bunnyman and just why either the urban legend was pushed down through parents that they wanted to keep kids away from this place or why the Bunnyman just blew up this place. And the last one was just their weapons. I know they're not the same, but a hook and a hatchet, like they both kind of used these nasty weapons when it was all said, you know?
I wouldn't want to get hit with either.
No.
If you had to pick, though, which one would you rather get hit with? I guess
a hook or a hatchet? I think I'd rather get hit with a hook, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a right answer in this one, you know? It's like, I think a lot of it, like, do I just have to stay there and just get... I think I take
one
the
whack,
hook.
one whack.
I take the hook, I think. You think you get somebody swinging that hatchet hard and it's like...
Yeah,
it's separating.
You're getting half of your body.
Yeah,
at
it's
least
separating stuff.
Out.
Yeah.
I'm probably taking a hook too.
Yeah, not that I want to take a hook over.
But if you had to,
yeah, I think I'm gonna take the hook over the hatchet.
Depends how big the hook is.
Well, that's true.
Just curious.
So, and I kind of talked about at the very end of this. I think this is just kind of a way through centuries that parents use these legends to scare their kids into doing right. And I think all the way back to German folklore when we talked about there's like the Brothers Grimm and everything back then. The Hookman is to scare kids from premarital sex, while the Bunnyman is to scare kids from venturing into the unknown.
Yeah.
And I also had a chart. I think I'll end up putting this chart on Facebook.
Ooh, he got a chart,
yeah,
folks.
Pretty cool chart. It just compares the Hookman to the Bunnyman. With that, we can go to the folklore score.
Ooh, a little folklore score. All right, we're back with the folklore score.
Folklore score. Dude, that might be the weakest you ever brought us into the folklore.
I try, because, I'm used to you.
Folklore score.
I tried to bring her down that time because I know you're always like, I wake everybody up when I bring us in.
I'm kind of disappointed that it wasn't. You didn't hit that number. All right, Corey, you ready for the big unveil? If you don't know what our folklore score is, Corey, explain it to him.
We got 5 categories.
5.
1 being spookiness.
Spooky.
2 historical cultural significance. 3 believability. 4 uniqueness. 5 threat level. We each give our score on each of them from 1 to 10 to give us a score out of 50. and then we smush them together to get our Cracking Cans Cast folklore score.
And more times than not, this folklore score is just pissing me off that we can't knock the boo hag off here. Like, I enjoyed researching the boo hag. I want her off her board. I want her off the board.
All right.
We're going to have to bring it. I'm going to adjust my scores to make sure she's off this week. I gave it a 50 this week. No, I'm just joking.
I'll give mine
ready?
a 0.
Yeah. Yeah. Ready for the big unveil?
Ready.
25. 25. I gave it a 27. So this will be a 53. Our first 50. Son of a bitch. All right, we'll dive through these quick. Spookiness, Corey, what do you got?
Spookiness, I gave it a 5.
I gave it a 6. To cultural significance, historical significance, what do you give it?
I gave it a 5.
I gave it a 4.
Just kind of right in the middle.
Yeah, that's how a lot of this one was. I felt like it was kind of right in the middle, so I gave a lot of 6s and 4s.
Yeah.
You know? Believability?
I gave it a 7.
7. I gave it a 4. And I could see why you went 7 because I almost went higher with it just because there is the newspaper articles to back up the stuff.
And I thought of that, and I just thought of like, okay, if I'm thinking like right here, present day, I could see some motherfucker with a hatchet scaring some people, killing some people, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Deformed otter, number 4.
Uniqueness.
I gave it a 9.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I should have went higher, but I gave it a 4.
Yeah, and I could see either way because
yeah.
the urban legend uniqueness is so compared to the Hookman, but I also felt like it was so different than the Hookman.
The bunny, yeah.
With the bunny, I don't know. Nothing's touching a bunny costume, you know?
Hell no, except the Easter bunny.
Yeah. Ooh.
I've been on an Easter bunny kick lately.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Hey, if you guys are ready, Easter is going to be this Sunday, so make sure you got your baskets out. And threat level, I give it a 4.
I gave it a 4 as well.
Yep. So another one not making the board, which is it's disappointing. It's disappointing at this time.
It is like we haven't touched our board in how long?
Not since Ouija. That was like the middle of January.
I know, what the hell.
Like that was the second week of January. That's been a hot minute.
We have to just do Bigfoot to get him on the board.
I know. That's what I actually thought of that the other day. But yeah, if you guys have any good legends or anything you want us to talk about, shoot us an email, crackingcanscast@gmail.com. Follow us on socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, or X, and Threads. Make sure you give us a follow. We're mostly active on Facebook and Instagram, I would say.
And if you want to give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts
Yeah.
or wherever it is you're listening from, we would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, it really helps grow our cast and stuff like that. So if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to do that. And so with that, I am the Crack Daddy Mike. I'm out of here.
I'm BK Corey. Mike's dumb.
Corey's stupid. I'm
Mike's
out.
dumb.